Senate to address the health care crisis. This bill does nothing to ensure that that crisis is addressed. I am voting no, and I will keep fighting. Democrats have been fighting to get the Senate to address
all right,
the health care
Chucky
crisis.
ain't too happy.
This bill does nothing.
Sorry, guys.
Senate to address
Sorry,
the
I know you
healthcare
guys all
crisis.
think I'm late,
This bill
but here's
does
what really
nothing.
happened. Okay. Anyways, the government shut down, voted through the Senate tonight. 8 Democrats jumped over, and Chucky ain't too happy about it. But I had to replay that clip because I already started my stream 10 minutes ago, and Rumble and X picked it up, but YouTube did not. For some wacky reason I don't understand. So YouTubers, I apologize. I was actually not late. The stream wasn't working, so blame Rumble Studio for that. But I'm here now. We're going to get through it. So anyways, just to recap what I already said on my other live when I first did the first 10 minutes already, government shutdown is over. It's over. Because the Senate has voted it through. It will now go back to the House. They voted a clean CR, going to go through January. Funded SNAP and military for the year. Democrats got nothing out of this. Nothing. Nada. They did this whole shutdown for nothing. It was a waste of their time, waste of the Americans' time. We didn't make it to 60 days, so we're not getting the automatic RIFs that could go into effect, that could do a bunch of layoffs. We didn't get the end of the filibuster. So you could look at it as a lose-lose. I mean, I'm not a big fan of getting nothing out of it on the Republican side either. But the big win that it will come out of this is that the Democrats lost. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to go through that. But the bigger story, what we're going to go through is the economy tonight. I'm going to talk about Trump is rolling out some massive plans for the economy. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to go through the MAGA psyop and how it is continuing on and getting crazier, honestly, ramping up. Candace Owens got caught in a major lie this weekend on a CNN interview. So we're going to catch that. I'm going to cover that. And all the other stuff we usually do here on American Fire. So catching up, guys, going through the wild news of the weekend. And talking, looking ahead, because it is, there's so much to be said about. I don't know if you guys have noticed it. You're probably not as embedded in this stuff as I am, especially because I'm really on X a lot. And because X is like the center of the political universe, whether you know it or not. It's the media universe where they get all their narratives, where they spread what they're talking about, where they're trying to infiltrate hearts and minds. And that's where the influencers go and get all their ideas and information to spread, those that aren't getting called and, on the phone at 4 a.m. in the morning. So X is the place to be. And it's a wild place right now. It really is. This last week, the attacks, the division that's trying to stir up and destroy the MAGA movement, destroy Trump's last 3 years in office, really have ramped up. So we're going to cover that, cover why it's going to fail, and I'm going to tell you guys what you should and shouldn't worry about, because that's what you guys pay me the big bucks for, right? So as we get started, please like, subscribe, join if you want to support the channel. Get in that description, get that first month for free, all the members' lives and the Discord access. All right, let me say hey to the chat, which I already did once before, but I'll do it again. You guys are worth double, and then we'll go get into it. Shogun, what's up? I will never say that word that you wrote. Cass Inc., what's going on? US1, Dave R., so much to talk about. Amen. Toe Cramp, One Love, the one, what to do? AJ Trade, what's up, man? Back from Pennsylvania. Worn out. Well, man, have a drink and stay a while. Miami RN, what's up? Scott Volkovich, Big Swede winning. Jack Hamilton, US1, Frank Anastasio, Multi-Troy 63, what's going? People are going to be real happy soon. Which people are you talking about? Lock Up, what's up? Michael David, Vince Felice on the big screen. AZ Tropic, what's up? RV reset almost here. RV. Which one are you talking about? Stephen R. Dems cave to save their party. Yeah, right. Ever Trumper, what's going on, man? Good to see you. It's been a while. Barbara, how are you? I know Moody was on. I hope she finds the new stream. We had some people that were already watching, and the stream didn't come through. So Candace was over there. I hope they all make it back to this stream. What's up, Ambrose? Aaron Ambrose, what's up, brother? I don't see you much anymore, man. It's good to have you in the chat. All right. So, sometimes the Sundays, they're just special. The peeps come out. The peeps come out at night. All right, let's go through this, okay? So you guys know last week I was sick, so I didn't do a lot of videos last week, not as much as usual. Only did 2 lives last week, which is a major bummer. Sick. My kids were sick. My wife was sick, and then I was sick. So not fun, but got those 2 lives out. But you guys know in one of them, we talked about the PSYOP going on, and a lot of it's started or at least ramped up because of this whole Nick Fuentes thing. And I was the first, as far as I know, to report on it. I caught it right away, sent it out to you guys, showed you then afterwards how they're pushing it. The New York Times pushed it the next day, so on and so forth, kept going. Well, Mark Mitchell on Rasmussen Reports, he does the Rasmussen poll. He's excellent. He's been going off about it all weekend. So this tells you just how big this is getting and how, because now it's not just people like me willing to talk about it. It's making its way up there. It's getting spotted everywhere. So he says, it's my job to spot PSYOPs. At this point, I think it's safe to conclude we are the target of a massive and coordinated influence operation aimed at political leadership change. There should probably be a retaliation. He's 100% right. So I told you guys we have this whole American First rebel side, which is criticizing MAGA at every opportunity. Okay. And they are just trying to tear it down. And they are the joker. They are the, some men just want to see the world burn, Mr. Wade. That's who they are. And I'm talking about Candace Owens. I'm talking about Nick Fuentes, so on and so forth. They just, whatever they do, they are not one of us. They think they are, or they at least like to act as if they are, because that's how they make their money and that's how they get people over. And then they just like to blow crap up. Ian Carroll's one of these. There's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. David Icke, Whitney Webb. These people just, nothing will ever is worth ever joining for them, being a part of. It's always, we are the rebels. We are the outsiders. We are going to tell you why everything is bad all the time and never give you hope. And that's just how they make their money. And I think some of them are just that way. And some of them are actually paid to be that, or, you could say CIA ops, whatever. But, the difference between them doesn't really matter which one's which. Is like they're all doing the same thing. And then on the other side, you have the neocon, traditional Republican establishment wing, which is disgusted that Trump has taken the party away from them, that he has destroyed the Republican Party in their eyes. He co-opted it with this group of MAGA. They don't want it. They were perfectly happy being uniparty. They had their perks. They had their guaranteed seats. They just kept getting richer while the people suffered. They, would go out there, make their arguments, and make it seem like they were fighting for us when they weren't. And then they got exposed. This is the Ben Shapiro's of the world. One way you always recognize them is they love Israel more than the U.S. And they always use it as an excuse to get us back into war. The Mark Levins of the world, most of the Republican senators, most of the Republican House, this is them. These are the ones who are pushing DeSantis, because DeSantis, who started MAGA, bent the knee to Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan. He bent the knee because that was going to be his ticket to become president. And when he failed, they were very, very discouraged about it. And so they just never thought Trump could come back. If they thought the people would follow them. They didn't. These people are arrogant. Now they realize they see blood in the water, or at least they think they do, with Trump's approval numbers down right now. Not horribly bad, still above where Obama was at this point, still above where Bush was at this point, but they smell a little. They're saying if Trump's gone, there's no leader. We can win this. We have to stop JD Vance. And so what they're trying to do is have Trump lose the midterms. And if he loses the midterms, he will be stuck fighting the Democratic House for 2 years, which will significantly lessen his ability to get stuff done domestically. And he won't be a lame duck president because Trump's incapable of being a lame duck, but it'll slow him down quite a bit. And all that going back and forth, it'll hurt moving into 2028. Now, it's still not impossible. If we lose the House barely in 2026, it's not going to be the end of the world. And when we get closer to it, I'll tell you guys why. It's not the end of the world that everybody's making it out to be, but it is very important. And it'll definitely make things easier for Trump if it doesn't happen. But they need to start taking out JD Vance now. And they're working hard at it. And Mark is noticing this because the Republicans, you notice they didn't fight in those 2 elections, Jersey and Virginia. And a lot of them are kind of happy it happened. But I already broke that down why it's not that big a deal. But I will tell you, they are trying to build on that momentum. They are. And they're doing it from within. And I love that Mark Mitchell is calling it out here. He sees it right here. He says, here's a 3-week operation to steal the Republican Party from MAGA. If you can't see it, then you're the problem. We're talking about, this is one of the best pollsters out there. This guy's polls are on, I mean, they're everywhere, but they're also on Real Clear Politics. They're part of the aggregate. He's a big deal. He's a big deal, and he's calling it out. And he shares this post by this Lily West, who's got the Israeli star in here. This is totally an influencer just bought and paid for by the old traditional Republicans. And look what she's propping up right now. They're bringing it back. Rubio DeSantis 2028. You see, DeSantis, who has been a wonderful governor, he's already proven that he can be bought by the traditional Republicans. So they love him. They love him, and they know if they can get DeSantis back in. Well, Rubio is full MAGA, but he was one of them. And because he was one of them and he woke up, saw the light, moved back over, as we've talked about before, I've told you about his journey and why I actually believe Marco's move over was legit. And he's true blue at this point, MAGA. But they believe that if they can get these two together, they can control them. And we can get back the old Republican Party the way it used to be. Well, it's not going to happen. DeSantis is never going to be president. He ruined his chance. MAGA doesn't trust him anymore. But these people are stupid. And honestly, they would rather lose than let MAGA continue running the Republican Party. They would rather lose it all and just keep their seats in opposition and let the Democrats run the show than let Trump and true MAGA run the Republican Party. That's how sick these people are. And I hate to say it because when it comes to votes, he's usually pretty good. Ted Cruz is one of these people. He's out there right now trying to smash everybody with the whole anti-Semitism thing. How it's a plague upon the right. No, it's not. The Groypers and Nick Fuentes are a very small fraction of people out there, and they're not even part of MAGA. I've shown you, how many times have I shown you guys how Fuentes has tried to blow up MAGA from within, gone after Trump, said he wished he voted for Kamala, or we would have been better off with Kamala. The Groypers voting for Mamdani this past week. It's all a show. It's all a show. And here's some more on here. I talked to a friend recently who owns a site important to MAGA. I wonder which website that is. They have been busy over the last year fighting off a really big attack. I'd assumed it was the left. Turns out it was the Bush Establishment Club for Growth wing of the Republican Party. See, the neocons, the rhino Republicans, the traditional Republicans, they are actually the most dangerous enemy to us. And the reason is because they can stab us in the back. They are close enough to weasel their way in sometimes. And so they're the ones we actually have to look out for. The left is obvious. They are outspoken. They're hateful. They're spiteful. They have ridiculous ideas for the nation. People see them real quick. They're easy to shoot down. A healthy dose of common sense and common sense. I'll just leave it at that for now. Healthy dose of common sense shoots it down real fast. You don't, at that point, when they're finally countered in the public square, boldness, that's what I was going to say. Healthy dose of common sense and boldness. You got to be bold enough to confront them, but all it takes is common sense to beat them, and we win votes. It's not hard. That's not rocket science. The left is easy. They are fading away, especially now that they are losing control of the media. The media just isn't as powerful anymore. So the left is fading away. But this group, they have been on the same side as us in many ways. They're voting for much of the same stuff. They control a lot of the Republican Party still, or at least a lot of the voting. They definitely don't control the voters. The voters aren't on their side, but they're close enough. And they are the OGs. They're the OGs. They still control a lot of the money. Now, Trump, because he's been around 10 years now, has really severely weakened them to the point where I believe if JD Vance comes in, they're Dunsky for almost ever. It'll be so much more difficult to get them back in. But the reason JD Vance is so important and the reason they're starting to put their sights on him is because he is the only one they see being a successor to Trump. And if they defeat him, then there is no successor to Trump. And without Trump, as of right now, there's no MAGA. But once there's a new leader, once there's a true leader who can successfully take over for Trump and lead MAGA to the to the MAGA voters, keep them happy, prove it. Well, once that happens, it proves it's not just Trump, and it becomes bigger long term. But as for now, they believe if they can take out the head, they kill the whole snake, and that's Trump. We got to prove that we're not just a snake with one head. We got to be a hydra. Have a bunch of heads popping up all over the place. And we have that potential. We got plenty of good leaders, but they have to be proven to be able to win. So they are already gearing up, and the start is going to be get us to lose the midterms. They want us to fall apart. And then what they can say is they're going to start pushing their own message within. And this is all this was already happening. It's been happening for a while, but Tucker interviewing Fuentes put rocket fuel on it because they saw it as an opportunity to say, oh, look what because Tucker was up there with Trump on election day. Tucker's a big deal in MAGA. Tucker was close to Charlie Kirk, not as close as Trump and them, but Trump was hanging out with all these guys. He was at the election night. I mean, Tucker is in. He had one of the key speeches at the RNC convention. And for Tucker to host Fuentes, listen, again, there's nothing wrong with interviewing somebody. I am not for cancel culture, and I'm not even saying Tucker did anything wrong. Maybe his timing was terrible because it happened during the shutdown and right before those elections. But whatever. It's his business. But they're using it. They're using it to say we have a major anti-Semitism problem in MAGA. And instead of having a good debate here, a healthy debate that would actually push the Groypers, that whole crazy racist incel culture over to the side, beating it with just straight up debate, they're saying that this is a problem with the MAGA, and they're actually pushing more people. They're being the boomers, they're actually pushing more people into it. And that's going to severely hurt MAGA going forward if we don't stop it. Mitchell calls out here. He says, I don't think everybody realizes how lucrative being a conservative influencer is. Unfortunately, not for me. But that's because you got to sell out. These people can make mega bucks if they sell out, barely pay my bills, but whatever. In other words, a lot of people are starting to jump on this. They've put the money behind the scenes, and they're all coordinated, and it's all coming out now. And I love that he's calling this out. It's a big deal that he keeps saying this. So what we got to do, the way we beat this, is Trump's just got to lead. If Trump just keeps leading and Trump and the economy starts turning around, none of this is going to matter. They're going to get utterly smoked. So that's number one. And if we just keep on keeping on, don't let it become a big deal, it won't be. And right now, this is a much bigger deal online than it is in real life. Now that can spread, but for now it's a contained virus, and that's a good thing. But it does call into question, who can you trust? And so, this is one of the reasons, it's funny because, I started my show God, it'll be 3 years ago in January. I started my show to basically kind of like give people pointers on stuff that I had helped me grow and learn. And I just come out of a very tough time in my life, and I overcame it, and things were much better. And I just wanted to share kind of the things I'd learned in life that helped me overcome extremely difficult things so that people could be more successful. And then I started talking about some stocks, stuff I'd seen, just like an interest, and that took off. So I stayed on that. And then it turned to and I always told you guys I was going to go to politics. But the longer I'm here, the more I'm like, oh my God, like the whole reason for me to actually do these shows is to tell people what's really going on, to show you guys who you can and can't trust. And listen, I might be a small channel forever because of that, because I'm never going to take their money. You know, I mean, if I ever partnered with somebody that I trusted, that's a different story. But I'm never going to become one of these people. I don't want to become part of the establishment. I want to beat the establishment. I want to beat the people. I love the MAGA movement. I love Trump because he's the outsider. And one of the things I've just had the blessing to be a part of over the years is understanding how all this works and seeing behind the scenes and just being an outsider because of it. You know, I was never accepted in the in crowd. I just never was, you know, except for in the church for a little bit, but in the political sphere or the media sphere, never. And that's okay. You know, there's a reason for everything. But one of the reasons is I just don't play games. I don't suck up. And I never, ever, ever let my opinion be for sale. And because of that, I think, you know, people just know sometimes they can sense who they can control and they can't. And so there's no incentive for anybody to come after me over all the years, all the different things I've done over the years. Ever. Never had that offer. And that's great. And like, I'm going to keep showing up here every day because there's so much going on. And this is one of the most important periods of history. I really do believe that. And for every one person that we can just help see the nonsense, break off the craziness that's being fed to you by algorithms and psyops and false stories and false flags and all that. If we can just always cut through that, if I can just, anybody can cut through that. The more you can cut through that, that spreads. And so that's what we want. We want it to just keep spreading. You know, Rush Limbaugh was never owned by anybody. He was self-made. And if you ever read his story, it's crazy how he got to where he was. He was a rebel, man. Nobody wanted him. He got fired like 7 times before he finally got the Rush show that took off. Yeah, that's like, and that guy is one of my heroes. You know, that's what we need more of. But instead we have this, the internet has built up, and the political parties have used it. This whole, you know, structure, this massive organization, behind the scenes structure, and how they used to run the mainstream media, they're now doing that with the internet. Now, the Democrats had a much easier time doing it because they owned the Silicon Valley dudes, Zuckerberg, so on and so forth. They were all deep state, and they ran all this social, so the algorithms were easily cued to help the Democratic Party. But then Trump came, put the pressure on, and he's been breaking that up a little bit. So that's why people are starting to break through a little more, which is excellent. However, what the Republicans did is they just straight up buy people. They do. They build them up, and I've shown you guys how to tell when a channel is really as big as it looks versus if it's bot farmed or built by just, you know, other interesting ways of building up numbers that just aren't real. I've shown you guys how influencers can have millions of followers on the surface, but really only have a few thousand people intensely following them. But there's a reason for that, because then they have an excuse to have a bigger voice. I mean, you know, I saw a major influencer the other day who, this guy gets radio shows. He gets on Fox News. He's all over the place. You guys would know him if I say his name. I'm not going to say his name because he's not necessarily one of the bad ones. He's kind of traditional Republican, but I don't necessarily think he's a bad dude, but he's a big name. And I was going through his socials, and a lot of his YouTube videos do less than mine. And I was like, for all the followers this guy has, all the clout he has, that's crazy. So it just tells you how are these guys sitting pretty when they're doing, even less views than I'm doing. And I'm here still working full time doing this at night as a side gig. What does that tell you just how this all works? But like he says, you don't realize how lucrative being a conservative influencer is. These people can make mega bucks if they sell out. And that's what you do. They just pay you to promote a message. So speaking of number one on the side right now, I can't tell you if Candace Owens is bought and paid for. I can't. She might not be. Her husband's wealthy enough. They don't need the money. But what I can tell you is that something's promoting Candace that's not organic, because somebody who keeps getting caught in this many lies cannot organically be big. Now, I will say this. She's very effective because she's such a good communicator. She's beautiful. She did build trust in the early, in the early MAGA days when Trump's first got on the scene, when she was doing Turning Point. She was great, and everybody was so excited because anytime, there's a well-spoken, beautiful black person in the conservative movement, they are going to become popular very fast. That's just where the Republicans are so desperate for any support from black Americans. They go nuts whenever they find one of these people. So Candace was like this jewel that they found. But she keeps getting busted in lies. And now she just announced that she's the number one podcast in the world, which might very well be true with the Charlie Kirk stuff. Problem is, she keeps getting busted in lies. And here's, I'm going to play this couple minutes of her interview she just had on CNN, where she just got caught in one of the most egregious lies yet of this whole Charlie Kirk thing.
Charlie Kirk was betrayed by someone close to him. What do you mean?
I think that in the coming weeks, there's going to be a lot of financial reports that are coming out. And I, first and foremost, do not believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. I want to be very clear on that. Whether he was involved, I think the answer is yes. I think that's obvious.
And your basis for saying he didn't act alone is what?
I don't know, maybe the weird Fed messages that were concocted out of thin air that had no timestamp and were written like they were speaking in 1822, among other things. Their lack of an ability to answer any basic questions about what took place.
But do you have any proof that the messages were made up? Because that would be easily proven.
Yeah, but they didn't put timestamps on them, and Discord came out and said they didn't exist.
This was supposedly text messages, not Discord messages. It's my understanding from the indictment.
I actually did not read that they were text messages.
The indictment calls them text messages.
What would it be like the feds are like on a computer, typing it out back and forth?
That's exactly what it is. The feds made up the text messages.
But you don't have anyone from like the FBI telling you that, or law
I have
enforcement?
leaks.
Okay.
No.
Has anyone leaked to you?
And Tyler Robinson has...
But has anyone said to you, even off the record, we faked these?
I have very strong sources everywhere on both sides.
Well, I look forward to seeing the evidence of that.
Yeah, sure. Because when we keep talking about evidence, it's like, who's going to present that evidence? Like the mainstream media? Like who are you expecting to come out?
Yes, that would be a hot story.
No, it wouldn't be.
It would be.
It wouldn't be.
If the FBI, if I had a source telling me, if I had proof.
Okay, there go argue for a second here, but I want to get back to right here. Boom. I mean, that's a big deal. So this whole time, one of her big things has been these messages don't exist. They were made up. And she, this entire time, has been saying they were on Discord messages. And she just, on the CNN interview that just got thrown out there, they called her on it. And not only did they call her on it, that she's wrong that they were Discord messages, they also said they were in the indictment, which apparently Candace Owens didn't take the time to read. Are you kidding me? This is insane. I mean, this is so this is a smoking gun. This should be right here. Enough. This one thing alone should be enough that nobody should trust anything she says about the Charlie Kirk situation at all. This is big enough that she could get caught on not reading the indictment, getting mixed up, making a whole big show and a whole narrative about these aren't Discord messages, they don't exist, and when they were text messages. Friends, for somebody as brilliant as Candace, for somebody who's taken seriously as much as Candace is, for somebody who's getting millions of views and dollars by doing these shows about Charlie Kirk's death being, a conspiracy. With all of that, you'd think she would cover her bases a little better. But this is not just getting caught in a lie. This is sloppy. This is sloppy. It should never be this easy to catch somebody like a Candace Owens in an egregious lie. And I'm not a CNN guy, but CNN busted her. That's how easy it was to debunk her. And now she's out there. She's been backing it up with all this other stuff. And she's just trying to change the subject. But I mean, listen, sometimes God allows people to become a big deal so that they can be exposed, because they're already leading many other people astray. And so he'll let them get too big to not fail. And that's what's starting to happen to Candace. This is a big deal. And if she's going to continue getting views, all that, there's going to be people who trust her over everything. They'll follow her down every alley she goes down, every excuse she makes. They'll trust her. These are the black pill types that never, ever, ever are going to trust anything that comes out of the government, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's Mamdani, whether it's freaking Hitler. They will not, if Jesus was in charge of the government, because Jesus was running the government, they wouldn't trust it. Okay. That's the kind of people that are going to believe Candace Owens no matter what. That and people who just don't pay attention to anything else. All right. So, but those of us who pay attention, which is most Americans, when they do watch this stuff, they actually do care about facts. They do care about getting it right. They're not just watching Candace for entertainment. They're watching this out of good faith. Charlie Kirk died. We want to know what really happened. We're watching Candace. This is huge. And this should, I'm praying it does, cause a major knock on her. When I saw this, my jaw literally dropped, because this was one of the big gotchas she had in her, the arrows in her quiver, the gotchas in her quiver that she was firing off at the narrative of Charlie's death from the FBI and everything. This was one of the big ones, and it just went down in a devastating ball of flames. And Candace, who's shameless, will be back on tomorrow acting as if it never happened. But it did happen. And you're busted, Candace. You're busted. You didn't even read the indictment. That's insane. That's insane. But again, she's now at the place where she's showing us who she really is. Here's Candace Owens responding to Joel Berry, who's, he's a conservative. He's not like MAGA, but he's a conservative. He wants Trump to do well. He goes after Candace here about, you're not being on our side. And Candace responds, very important, I've never been on your side. Hope this helps. Now, Candace, again, that's being Candace. She just likes to go after everybody. But to just say flat out, I've never been on your side ever. Well, Candace, you've told us you're a conservative. It's fine if you want to play the rogue. It's fine if you want to, if you're really truthfully going after something you have questions about, we celebrate that. We want that. We need that. With your talent, and your reach, Candace, we need people like you on the side. But to just be like, I'm not on your side or ever been on your side, well, then whose side have you been on? Because Charlie Kirk was definitely on the side of MAGA conservatives. He definitely was. Charlie Kirk was like, let's all fight this together. Let's all do this. Charlie Kirk was a big tent guy. And if you're going to fight for Charlie and his legacy, how the hell can you go around just shooting everybody else down that Charlie would have clearly worked with? That's not Ben Shapiro we're talking about right here. I mean, come on. This also right after the elections, Virginia and New Jersey, which apparently Candace doesn't care. Doesn't care that, and I'll say this. People who just want to watch the world burn, who would rather have like hardcore leftists run this country than not get to control the right. Candace is out there saying what a major disappointment Trump is. Okay. And I get if you wanted to be like, he's been disappointed on one thing, but overall, come on. That's so insane to think. Charlie Kirk definitely didn't think so. And you're supposed to be his champion. But regardless, if you're somebody who just is like, we'd rather just lose all the time because it just proves us right more. Well, you have a major issue. This is my biggest issue with libertarians, by the way. Libertarians, all 5% of them in our nation, about 90% of that 5%, maybe 80% of that 5%, they would rather just lose, and let America go down the crapper. They'd rather us become full on communist so they could sit on the sidelines and say, told you so. Man, I just want to be left alone in the woods somewhere. Just people leave me alone. They would rather do that than work with people who are anti-communist, who are, say, 75 to 95% in agreement with libertarians. They would rather lose than work with those people, because to these libertarians, most of them, you're not worth it unless you are 100%. It is the purity test. Well, purity tests don't win elections. Purity tests don't lead nations. Unless you're an Islamic caliphate. That's what purity tests get you. Every other thing, I mean, come on. And purity test is also, it's very anti-Christian. It's just, it doesn't work. And it's certainly never going to work in America unless you just want to lose all the time. Look how well it's going for the left. As their purity test got stronger and stronger, bigger and bigger, they got their butts kicked in 2024. And a lot of it was because of that purity test. We have Candace then responded by showing this text exchange between her and Charlie. And there's some now evidence that those text messages might have been fabricated. So Candace keeps going on that. I just think this should just keep spiraling unless she comes out with a real bombshell that actually is something that actually is evidence backed, that can be stood up under scrutiny. Unless she comes up with something like that, this should hurt her. And that's good. We want all the people going crazy. We want all the people lying, trying to divide the one movement that could save our nation. We want all them to be exposed and to fail. And Ian Carroll's another one of them. I mean, he's out there saying that the Rothschilds, I don't agree with the Scofield Reference Bible. We've talked about that a lot, especially on its end times theology or its Israel theology. But, Ian Carroll, Rothschild investments, financial backing. Wes Huff is an actual theologian who studies all this stuff extensively. He's 10 times smarter than Ian Carroll and just his pinky finger. And he's out there saying that there's just no evidence to this stuff. So Quartering's been on that, but I'm going to keep taking Ian Carroll down as much as I can. I cannot stand that guy. He is awful. And he's never been even where Candace was at one point, which is somebody I could have at one point at least believe in. All right, let me catch up with the chat. Anything in the chat interesting? Brett says Candace, I think, is getting ready for a new guest position on The View. I love that. Be a good Ace Tony and hit the like. I love it. Yeah, hit like, subscribe. Thank you guys. If you're on X, if you wouldn't mind reposting, I appreciate that. And then again, if you guys want to join, get in the members lives, get in the Discord, which goes 24/7. You can join for free. It's click the link in the click the link in the description or on the pinned post on X. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, guys, is the economy. And there's just been some massive things going on in the economy. So, as I transition, this PSYOP is continuing on the right. It's growing. They are pushing it harder than ever. But I also think they're starting to just fall under the weight of their own lies. And so we'll keep watching it. But the reason I'm bringing it up right now is because the combination of Nick Fuentes on Tucker and the losses in the Tuesday election, that combination was used to try to send a pulse wave through MAGA of fear and blackpilling and just make us believe lies, that we're so much weaker than we actually are. And I did a lot of reflection this last week because I was sick and had the time to do it because I wasn't on as much. And I realized something, that we're seeing a very similar pattern to one we've seen before. Now, Trump is the closest person I've seen to a true conservative as far as how he's run the country. And the other true conservative that ran the country in recent times, that was a hero on the right, was Ronald Reagan. And what I realized this week is that we're seeing a major, what's the word I'm looking for? Comparison here, where there's a lot between Trump's 2025 and Reagan's 81 to 82. Because right now the big attack on Trump is that he hasn't fixed our economy. Well, and that's what he promised voters, and that's why he's going to lose voters. That's why he's going to lose the midterms. And all the foreign policy should not have been done. We should have just been focused on. Well, I'm here to tell you, as somebody who's studied this stuff for many, many years, no president turns the economy around in 9 months. You know why? We have the largest economy in the history of the world. It's a slow turning Titanic. It's not a speedboat that can whip around. It takes time. And what Trump has done as the major legislation, the one big beautiful bills, the biggest tax cuts in our history, the funding of ICE to get the illegal immigrants out, the tariffs, that's all domestic. It's all economical. And yes, while we've seen blips here and there of the consequences of some of this, and we've seen a little bit of the benefits, like with the tariff revenue that's come in so far, we have got this stuff takes a year or two till it really works its way through the economy. And so the fact that they're saying this massive changes and massive legislation Trump's gotten across. Oh, forgot to mention the deregulation, the 10-to-1 that's going on in the bureaucracies right now. All that happening is massive stimulus to the economy, but it takes time. And yet we have a president who went through almost this exact same thing. And so I'm going to share a post I wrote this weekend. I said, it's kind of shocking how no one's noticing how close Trump's 2025 is to Reagan's 81 to 82. Everyone's glued to day-to-day noise, patterns almost identical. Major tax and economic reset right out of the gate. Reagan passed major tax cuts. And he started deregulating and started cutting the federal budget and cutting jobs at the federal level at basically the same rate as Trump, except Trump in some areas is doing more than Reagan did. Regulatory rollback across multiple agencies. Trump's doing more than that. Trump's tax cut is bigger than Reagan's. Real cuts to federal power, not just reshuffling it. Both of them didn't cut enough on this yet. Let me put it that way. But there is some. Foreign policy shock moves to reset the playing field, not manage decline. Trump's out there making deals, stopping wars. Reagan did similar things, shoring up. He wanted to shoring up foreign powers for the Cold War. Everyone accusing him as a failure before anything has time to work. Well, Reagan's first year, he came in after Carter, who was very similar to Biden and being just kind of weak and feckless. Came in, America was tired of that. The economy was in malaise. Interest rates were skyrocketing high. Inflation was high. And remember, history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. This is definitely a rhyme. Carter to Biden is a rhyme. Trump to Reagan, the first term, is a rhyme. Trump's second term to Reagan's first term. And what makes Trump's this term is like a first term is the fact that he had the break. So we basically get two Trump first terms, which is great because first terms is where usually more gets done. So he comes in on this, has a big mess to clean up. So like Reagan, Trump's not doing a bunch of easy things. He's doing the hard stuff that'll have longer rewards down the road, pay bigger dividends down the road. It takes time though. Reagan, as popular as he was for a lot of his presidency, I don't know how many realize this, but his poll numbers tanked in 81 and 82. Reagan got shellacked in the midterms. 82, he got hammered. Unemployment was high. Recession was heavy. Proven low 40s, got shellacked in the midterms. Every critic said Reagan's not steady, broke the economy, he's finished. Then 83 hit, boom. GDP surged, jobs returned, confidence spikes. People on his side mocked him, suddenly pretend they knew it would work all along. Goes from political disaster to 49 state landslide under 2 years. Here's what most people forget. Voters are fickle and impatient during the build phase of big change. Every president who attempted real structural reform took a hit early. Trump is in the 82 zone now. Now, I'm going to explain in a minute why I think Trump his stuff will move a little faster than Reagan's. Because it's technically second term, people expect payoff, not reset cycle. That's why the attacks are psychological, not factual. It's not his policies fail. It's he doesn't know what he's doing. He's not focused on the economy. He's distracted. Same playbook they ran on Reagan before the turnaround exposed them. Don't fall for the psyop. Trump's lost, unfocused, or not working on domestic issues. Real change takes time. Reagan's payoff hit in year 3. If the pattern repeats, we can start seeing results next year and MAGA striving again. I mean, look at these charts here. Look at Reagan's. Here we go. He got down to 43% approval at one point and then just popped off up into 84 where he won the 49 state landslide. But 43, that's exactly where Trump is right now. Isn't that interesting? Pretty close. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy similarity. So, Trump gets all this attack and he's just spent a bunch of time overseas, signed all these deals, brokered peace deals, brokered trade deals, which are economic, by the way, for everybody saying he's not focused on domestic policy, whatever. So stupid. He's been knocking all this out. And now he's focused and he's going for it. He's going for it. Yesterday, he announced that a dividend from the tariff revenue of $2,000 a person, except high-income people, will be paid. If they pull this off, this stimulus, it will be one of the most brilliant things he's ever done for a number of reasons, for stimulating the economy and for winning votes. And let me explain. Once this went out there, of course, it blew up X. Everybody's freaking out. Oh my God, this is going to this is going to make inflation soar again. This is just another handout. Oh, this same old. And it's all nonsense. They have no idea what they're talking about. You see, when we did the bailouts, the stimulus money in 2020, that was printed money. That was money Congress wrote up printers go brr, and they just send it to people. And yeah, they did multiple times, including the big one at the beginning of Biden's term that really was the one that broke open inflation. Because it was already at the breaking point, and then that one just crested it over and just sent inflation roaring. And so everybody's now freaking out. Trump's going to do it again. Trump's going to do it again. It's kind of impossible because this money is not printed. They are not creating new money to send out. This is coming directly from revenue already collected by the tariffs. $400 billion is what they're collecting and what they plan to send out, or they're going to, Besant said it might be in terms of, rebates, tax rebates, or it might be a stimulus. It doesn't matter. Either way, if people get money in their pockets that isn't printed money, new printed money, it's not going to cause inflation. But what it will do is give people $2,000 to either save, invest, or spend. All of those will be excellent for the economy, especially spending or investing, obviously. But savings is great for the people. Give them more confidence, help them maybe pay off some bills. Whatever it is, it's going to be a massive boon for the economy. And it's just money that they've already collected into Treasury. So that's a huge win right there. The next win is that this gets him a lot of favor with voters, because voters are going to say, there'll be the skeptical voters out there who are like, oh, he's just trying to buy us off. Okay, you're not going to win those people anyways. Or you'll get the voters who say, I can't believe Trump's stimulating again. We don't need to stimulate the economy. It's going to cause inflation. Well, those are just idiots. The people most people will get it and say, oh man, I needed this money. This is a great time for me to have this money. People are struggling right now. 88% of the American economy is technically in a recession. 88% of our geography. So that 2,000 goes out. It shores them up for the midterms, which we need to win. And it gives a boost to the economy temporarily, which I think going into next year will just be it's like when you're starting a fire. And instead of doing it the fair way, you pour lighter fluid on it first. That's what this would be doing. And it would still lead into the fire that's going to happen anyways. After that, the tariff revenue just goes to debt, keeping the debt lower, whatever. But again, this is an amazingly smart way to use that money. It just is. People need that cash. They do. We're at a point where the government has ruined the economy for the middle class. Ruined it. I mean, look at 42 million people on SNAP benefits. Most of those people, it's not their fault. If the government gives you free money, every single one of you is taking it. Every single one of you. If the government's giving you free money without stipulation, without any quid pro quo, you're taking it. And you'd be stupid not to, because the government's just going to do it anyways. And so these people on food stamps are taking it. Yes, the government is enabling them. Yes, it needs to be reformed. Yes, there's people who don't need it who are lying. I get all of that. That's not good. We could break all that off. But it's the government's fault it happened in the first place. What you do to get people back on their feet is you say, this is a good way for the government, Trump, to say, we screwed up. Remember, he's a populist. He's not a true blue conservative, which is why the libertarians hate him. Which is why the traditional Republicans hate him. Because Trump knows how to use the government to make the people, A, like you, and B, do better. How to actually help the people thrive. And what we've tried for years in the conservative movement, and I was one of these people, all we ever wanted was smaller government. And I still want that. Ideologically, yes, I want a small government. But is that going to happen in my lifetime? No, it's not. Who are we kidding? So if we don't have a small government and we're not going to see it, then use it. Use it. and let's keep the right people in charge of it. And hopefully it gets smaller over time, little by little, because it won't be big. Too many people are dependent on it now. Too many people on Social Security, too many people on Medicare, too many people on food stamps, too many people on welfare. They're all the same. And I don't mean they're all the same as in they're taking advantage of it. Most of them aren't. People on Social Security, most of them aren't taking advantage of it. Most of them are on because, they worked and they retired and the government told them they could. Bully for them. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the Social Security system because it's a Ponzi scheme. I don't have a problem with the people taking Social Security. But the problem is they're all dependent on the government still. And that's a major problem that never, ever should have happened. And yet here we are. And there's no way to go back on that anytime soon. So what we do is we reform, we cut a little bit here and there, we make it more efficient, and we make it so, because it's going to take time. It's going to take time for the private sector to get back to thriving. And what I see Trump doing is, instead of just going in with a chainsaw and destroying the government and then leaving all these people off to fend for themselves when they don't know how to or when they can't, he's balancing. It's a balancing act. It's helping the private sector grow. And at the same time, the other side is going back, the government slowly going down. And that's the only way to do it that's good for the people. It's the only way to do it without mass insanity. And that's what I believe Trump's doing. And this is part of that. And so you can agree with it, disagree with it. I don't really care. I think it's a great idea. And it's a great idea for all the reasons I listed. And because we got to win going forward. Because God forbid the Democrats ever get back in again. My show will disappear, guys, next time. They are done. They're not playing anymore. They weren't playing nice last time. This time they will become the I'm trying to think of the Russians that took over. Excuse me. They'll become the Jacobin, the redcoats. They're just going to kill us. They're going to kill us. They're going to take away all of our ability to speak freely. They're going to take away all of our ability to earn money, to be banked. It's going to be full-on communism if the Democrats get back in, as they currently are. Because right now they're still far left. They've gotten more insane. If they win in 2026 and 2028, goodbye America as we know it. It'll take decades to get it back. So if Trump has to cheat a little bit in a way that doesn't really hurt the economy and doesn't really hurt us going forward, if he has to cheat a little bit, Bolsheviks. Thank you, Moody. That was the word I was looking for. Stupid. I was just reading about them today too. I can't believe that it slipped my mind. Thank you, Moody. I need you guys for that. If they get in, it's over. Listen, like, speaking of Moody, you tell him, look at what's happening to Canada right now. If we lose these elections, it's done. Now, we can survive losing the House in 26 because we can still get it back in 28, get J.D. Vance in there, and I think hit the ground running moving forward. So there's still hope if we lose the midterms. But if we lose 2028, it's over. And we'll have more momentum if we win the midterms. It'll be easier to win 2028 if we win 2026. So we got to do what we need to do to win these elections. And so, again, along with the stimulating the economy, I'm all for this. Next, Trump did this today. And this, it's very interesting that Trump put this out here. And then one day later, the Democrats agree to end the shutdown. Because this is Trump just beating the Democrats at their own game. I am recommending to Senate Republicans that the hundreds of billions of dollars currently being sent to money-sucking insurance companies in order to save the bad health care provided by Obamacare be sent directly to the people so they can purchase their own much better health care and have money left over. In other words, take from the big bad insurance companies, give it to the people, terminate per dollar spent the worst healthcare in the world, Obamacare. Unrelated, we must terminate the filibuster. this is genius. When I saw Trump tweet this yesterday, by the way, he tweeted this before he did the tariff one. I was like, oh, he's back. He's back. After this elections, after everybody accusing him of not being on the domestic front, he's back. And I mean, this is awesome. The idea, see, people, when they see this, because right now the Democrats are saying subsidies, keep their payments low, subsidies. And most people will hear that and say, yeah, give me, like, make it cheaper for me, government. Yeah. And even though it's slowly making things worse or quickly making things worse, Obamacare is a disaster. Making it bigger is always worse. But when people hear, oh, we could get that money to use for insurance, wow, that wakes them up. And that, what Trump has just done is he took a Democrat idea and he just made it a Republican idea or a MAGA idea that's going to be more popular with voters. Probably the way they'll work it out will be cheaper for the government and will empower people to, again, start becoming less dependent. Now, obviously, the dependence at first will be getting that money from the government. But what this will do, Trump's got a plan to destroy the monopoly of the insurance companies. And I can tell you he does right now because he posted this. Major health insurance company stock performances after Obamacare. And he just shows how Obamacare was basically just a gift to the insurance companies. Okay, 1,200%. United Healthcare up, Cigna up 800%, Anthem 400, 500, Humana, Molina 850, Aetna 600, Centena 600. It was just a gigantic gift to the insurance companies. What Trump's trying to do is if he goes directly to the people with helping them with healthcare accounts that allow them to be in control of all this, he's stopping this government that's direct with the insurance companies. This is going to make the insurance companies compete. It'll make the insurance companies lower deductibles. It'll make them figure out better plans. And one of the things they're going to try to do, I know, is open up the state by state insurance so they can compete, which still has never fully been done, which is insane. But this will break them up a little bit. It's just like what he did with the Ozempic thing this last week when he announced that Ozempic was now going from, I don't know, $1,400 a dose to like $350 a dose, something like that. Well, Ozempic's terrible for you. I mean, if you have to take it because you just got to lose that weight, if for the people that it doesn't make blind or cause stomach paralysis, which is thousands and thousands of people, for the people it actually does just make you lose weight, that's great. It can bring some health benefits for a while from that. But then once people get off it, they gain it back usually. But Ozempic's a terrible drug. However, what Trump just did by lowering those prices is, yeah, of course, people can get more access to it now, but he took away the incentive structure because these big pharma companies were making $1,000 a dose off them. And now they might make $50 a dose. Well, they're going to move on to something else. It's not going to be as lucrative anymore. It's not going to get pushed as more. So that's one way you de-incentivize them from pushing these drugs so much. You force them to not be able to make as much off of them. So, and that's what he's doing with the insurance companies here. All right. And Alan says the real question is how many younger people get insurance. Well, it won't be that many. And most young people don't need it. Let's be real. I didn't have health insurance for until like after I left my parents' home. I didn't have health insurance until last year. I'm 42. It's like if you stay healthy and take care of yourself, you don't need it. And it's cheaper to pay cash most of the time anyways. As for regular checkups and stuff, you don't really need it until you start getting older, unless you have severe health issues. But Obamacare forced us all to get it. And it told everybody, like, we bought this lie, like, you have to have healthcare, you have to have healthcare, you have to have healthcare. It's nonsense. You don't. There's so many options out there now. Are you kidding me? There's like healthcare exchanges, Christian ones, where you pay like $100 a month and you get a lot of options for, keeping your bills down. There's so many things. So we, it should have been called the Unaffordable Care Act. That's right, Brett. Absolutely. But Alan, yeah, not many younger people will, but this won't be cash. There's no way Trump's going to just send cash to people for insurance. No, it'll be like healthcare accounts, which might even work if these accounts say, if you don't want to purchase healthcare, but you still got an account for it, then maybe you just can pull from it if you have to go to the doctor. Like, that's a great idea. How about instead of paying a $400 a month premium for a 24-year-old who's completely healthy, just so they can have healthcare in case someday something happens, how about they have this healthcare account that would be paying for that premium, but instead of getting it, they just keep the money in there and they just use it to go to the doctor once a year for a checkup for $150. You know how much money that saves the government? I'm sure there'll be all kinds of things on here where the money phases out if you don't use it, all that. That's a great idea. It is significantly better than anything the Democrats have, which is just propping up Obamacare more. Guys, this will be a huge boon for the midterms. This is a massive win with voters. Alan says, don't know how or can't in my vocabulary say truth, laziness. I think you're going back to the people when I was talking about the welfare stuff. Listen, Alan, there legitimately are people who can't. And it's not because they can't physically, it's because they were never taught. So it just takes time. Some people aren't lazy. They just don't know because they were raised terribly. Anyways, Kryptonian says they're accusing him of running off to Mar-a-Lago to play golf this weekend, but he's a workhorse. He works so much and he knows how to play. Work hard, play hard. This is Trump. The problem is with Trump, he doesn't sleep. He sleeps like 4 hours a night. So of course he can play more and work more than all of us and confuse you to which one he's doing. Toe says, I think I've had health insurance for 5 years, my entire adult life, because I had an employer. Exactly. Can we short big pharma? I would love to. I hope we can get to that point. Brett says, I remember getting a tax penalty for not having coverage. What a joke. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that was Obamacare. Trump got rid of that, by the way. Thank you, Trump, in 2017. That was eliminated with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, the first one. But that was Obamacare. Yeah. Penalize you every year. What nonsense. So un-American. Insane. CA Human says, never use it. Brett says, I see people complain about paying $1,000 a month to have a policy with a $5,000 deductible. That's insane. Absolutely insane. I'd go for it. Says Alan, amen. Rum Dog, I remember when Obamacare first came out, there were pop-up tents on corners signing people up. Oh, it's crazy. Well, the only way Obamacare worked was if more people signed up and if you paid that penalty every year. So when Trump got rid of the penalty, Obamacare started collapsing under its own weight. So once he basically got rid of the most communist part of it, it started collapsing. And now here we are. And we're coming to that endpoint. I told you guys 2028 is going to be all about healthcare. It's going to be all about healthcare because this health system's about to collapse. It's about done. Say Human as, is it true Obama Foundation got royalties from Obamacare? Oh yeah. Interesting you brought that up. So I don't think I was going to cover that tonight, but you know what? Why not? By the way, this is so popular, Trump's idea, that Rick Scott has already said, I'm writing the bill. So, let's see. So part of the deal so Trump announces this. The shutdown gets voted through to end in the Senate today, the day after Trump announces this. Part of the deal is that they will discuss healthcare and get it solved in December. Well, I think Trump just pulled a fast one on the Democrats because they're going to get the government reopened, which is going to eliminate all this political pressure. The Democrats lost it because they didn't get anything out of it. And they just sent us through the largest shutdown in American history, got nothing out of it. And now the Trump and the Republicans have a plan to completely undo Obamacare over time. And this will be the beginning of it. And they have the plan of how to get it started. And it looks like that's what they're going to try to pass. So that would be awesome. if they could pull this off. It won't be veto proof. They're going to have to, so they might have to, and Trump's going to keep pushing on the filibuster to nuke it. But CA Human, the Obama royalties. Let me pull that up real quick, because this is crazy. This just shows you how incredibly corrupt everything is. I want to see where Doge did it. There was a post that I thought encapsulated the best. Is it this one? I guess. Anyways, it's a screenshot. So, but yeah, it says a Doge halts yearly payment of $2.5 million to Barack Obama for royalties linked to Obamacare. He's collected this payment since 2010 for a total of $40 million. That's insane. So, did I see Jeffrey's press conference? He looked like Timo, Mr. Potato. No, I can't watch Jeffrey's when he speaks. He's awful. Next thing. So we've already seen. So what was the big criticism of Trump? He hasn't done enough for the economy, even though tax cuts, even though tariffs, even though deregulation, all that. Hasn't done enough for the economy domestically. So Trump comes out to these people criticizing him. Boom, healthcare plan. Boom, tariffs. Let's get people some money in their pockets to help them. And then he goes, this one's a little smaller, but still a big deal. I've asked the DOJ to immediately begin investigation of meatpacking companies who are driving up the price of beef through illicit collusion, price fixing, and price manipulation. Will protect our American ranchers. Ranchers being blamed for what's being done by meat packers who are artificially inflate prices, jeopardize the security of our nation's food supply. Action must be taken immediately. Combat illegal monopolies. So Trump's saying the ranchers are coming to him saying, like, beef prices are super high right now, but we're not seeing any of that. And so Trump now is like, okay, I'm going to go get beef prices down because I'm going to knock these people out. This, to me, seems like there was some kind of conspiracy to keep prices high for Trump. And behind the scenes, there's probably like, we're gonna hurt him, because I know it happens. I'm not saying it never happens with other presidents, okay? But beef has gotten out of control. My family eats a lot of beef. Beef, it's what's for dinner, you know? I love beef. It's the best. Best for you too, despite what they've told you all these years. It's amazing, and I love it. We've been buying it. A hamburger. We eat hamburger and so much. It's just amazing. But way higher prices. And it's like, what is going on? And then he's trying to make this deal to get more food from Argentina, cows from Argentina. But there was no reason why we should be having all this crazy beef, raises. There's just nothing going on. There's not mad cow disease going around, anything like that. And so he's like, oh, the middlemen. Makes me wonder if there is some kind of collusion about, like, let's get these prices up and we'll benefit in the meantime to hurt Trump's economy while he's trying to get prices down. Anyways, if Trump all of a sudden does what he did with eggs, with beef, and we go down, eggs are down, 75, 80% from January. If he can do this with beef, get us back to regular, good price, smart, affordable prices with beef, it would be a massive, massive win. You're right, Rum Dog. The food supply chain was under attack, but we should have seen some of the effects of that way before what we're seeing now, because that was happening all the way back in 2022. All those plants getting burnt down, which was crazy, by the way. But one way I know that those didn't end up being as big a deal as we thought they all would be is because A, chicken never really took off, and B, as soon as Trump turned his attention on eggs, we got that fixed fast. So if all those plants were as big a deal as we thought they were going to be, now maybe they just didn't destroy enough of them, but we just never saw food. We never saw food scarcity, and we never saw the prices go out of control, except for eggs for a little bit, which is interesting. It makes me think they didn't get it. They weren't able to do as much as they wanted to do. Feed went up. Yeah, but the point, Alan, is that the ranchers were telling Trump that we're not seeing higher beef prices for us. So the beef prices aren't, it's not making its way to us. So they're, because if there's a shortage of beef or there's over ordering of beef, well, then the price ahead goes up because, supply and demand. But that wasn't happening. And so anyways, I think we're going to see beef go down like eggs did. I really do. Moody says, under attack here in Canada, communists love to use food to control the people. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Not eating the bugs. That's right. Never, ever, ever eat the bugs. Brett says, I listened to something about self-deletion rate on farmers going up in the last 10 years. That's terrible. Well, farmers in America are really suffering, especially small farmers. Places like Tyson Foods have come in, bought up a lot of these small farms or put them out of business. And we're talking about farmers who that's what they did their whole lives. That's what they trained their kids to. They passed it down family to family and taken away from them, and horrible. Or they price them out and cause them to go under. It's awful. I do believe there's a major push now for sustainable farming. And that is the future, because if we don't do it, we're going to ruin our soil, and we will have food scarcity in about 10 to 20 years. But we've hired in the Trump administration, in the agriculture cabinet, they've hired people who are all about the sustainable farming. So I think small farms and sustainable farming is going to make a big comeback over the next decade or two. So it will get better for farmers, but it's been a terrible 25 years for farmers. It really has. And it's very sad because farmers, but that's the thing. They want to keep us getting into cities because people in cities can be controlled. People who live off the land can't be controlled. And that was the push that we've been living under for 50 years. Don't stay on the farm, you hick. Don't go be a plumber, you loser. Go to college. Go get a fancy computer job. Go tell people they can, take SSRIs. Go prescribe them SSRIs. That we were told, like, blue collar work is for jokes and losers, and white collar work is the only thing that is successful. We were fed that nonsense for 50, 60, 70 years. And even if you weren't told it directly, you were told it. I was told it. My parents believe in all that stuff. They love farmers. They love salt of the earth people. They loved all that. But what was I told in high school? Oh, you have to go to college after high school. And so it's just been an attack on this. But all that stuff's coming back. And you know what? I know a lot of you guys hate AI, but AI is going to be one of the things that sends people back to blue collar work, because AI is eating up these white collar jobs. It's a beautiful thing. I love seeing it. I love seeing it. You're weaning yourself off Publix. The local vegetable store is cheaper. That's awesome. That's great to hear, Sia. I'll have to see if I have one around here. Jim Boswell, corn hit all-time high from drought in 2012. Yeah, I remember all the meat plants. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, Publix is expensive, man. It was very expensive. So, yeah. No, there was a lot of crazy stuff. Listen, the Biden administration, guys, their whole job... Okay, so going back to Obama, because that's when... So this stuff has been going on a long time, way before Obama. But when Obama got in, that was the green light to go full speed ahead towards their global reset. It was a green light. It was like, okay, we got in. We got the Manchurian candidate in. We're going full speed global reset. We are going to destroy the United States, turn it into our communist fantasy. We're going to ruin it, and through all these different ways, we're going to keep ruining the little bit here and there, the Constitution, and just break it. Get the people so miserable they're willing to break it. That was the plan. And so Obama started getting the race wars back up. He tried to take away our guns after Sandy Hook. It didn't work. The people fought back, thank God. He did take over our financial system. After the financial collapse, the Dodd-Frank bill took over our financial system, has led us to where we are today. A lot got accomplished under Obama, but not as much as they'd hoped. Hillary was going to come in. It was going to be World War III. It was going to be COVID, shut everything down, destroy our economy, destroy our lives. Boom, great reset by 2025, 2030. We'd still be locked down right now if Hillary Clinton had been president under COVID, because they would have just handed off the baton from her. We would not have any elections. Trump saved us from so much more that we have no idea. Okay. We do rotate our crops, Alan, but we don't give the soil time to rest. And a lot of places don't rotate. This is actually pretty well documented. But anyways, we were just saved from so much, and they were going to get us to their great reset, which is supposed to happen this decade. But Trump stopped them. He did. And you guys can call me a conspiracy theorist. Fine. Just look at what they were doing. But they were the food supply, taking off the food supply was one of them. It was absolutely one of them. Just destroy it. Make all the healthiest food hard to afford. Not just the healthiest food either. The stuff that makes us strong. Okay. And there you go. I mean, by resting, Alan, I mean, I'm not going to get all into it. I'm not a farmer, but I can just tell you the way the corporations farm versus the way that sustainable farmers farm is much, much different. And, in the old days, they used to let the soil rest for a whole year every 7 years. So we don't even do anything close to that. We just keep feeding it stuff. But they found out how to mass produce and keep it going all the time, but without ever really any rest. We have a topsoil problem. Maybe it's not as bad in Iowa as other places, Alan, but it's definitely a major problem. It's definitely a major problem. But anyways, going back to that, they were trying to destroy, the food was going to be one of them. And take away your ability to make a good living, get you living in apartments, get you hooked on SSRIs, get you the COVID jab. I believe you, Alan. I'm not talking back to you. I'm just saying there's a lot of people, I've researched this. So it might be different in your area. I was the farmer area. Absolutely. But we do have a topsoil problem. Am I wrong about that, Alan? Do we not have a topsoil problem? Because I've heard this in many, many places, and I've watched documentaries on it. So if I'm wrong, I'll face it. If you can tell me I'm completely wrong on having a topsoil problem, I will, but I've just seen a lot on this. Anyways, Greg, I like bugs. If accidental while camping gets kicked in the pot. You know what used to happen to me? I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be ants in my cereal in California every once in a while. And there's like these little ants. And so I'd and I wouldn't know it until I poured my cereal and started eating it. I'd have this taste, and it'd be like a sour, bad orange juice taste. And I'd be like, oh God, the ants got in again. So I don't think the bugs taste very good. Alan says yes and no. Okay, well, that doesn't help me, Alan. We'll have to have a larger discussion on this someday. But I'll tell you what I'll do, Alan. I will go do greater research on this, okay? Because it's definitely not my main source of researching, my main expertise. I will do more. Okay, the next thing Trump brought up, which this is going to sound crazy to some of you, and I'm going to explain why I don't think it's as crazy as you think, okay? Trump introduced the idea of a 50-year mortgage. So what have we got? What have I already told you guys? In just the last 2 days, since Trump was getting accused of not focusing domestically, he's announced the healthcare plan, which would break up the insurance monopolies as they are, break up Obamacare down the road, make things more affordable, and give power to the people. The tariff dividend, the one-time tariff dividend to stimulate the economy and honestly booster his popularity, which is needed for the midterms. It's a genius plan because it won't cause inflation because it's not printing more money. Then going after getting beef prices down, and now the 50-year mortgage. Now, trying to give Dave Ramsey a heart attack. Absolutely. Yeah, Dave Ramsey's not going to like this one. But it sounds crazy, right? Debt for 50 years. That is crazy. You know why it's called a mort gauge? Mort means death. Gauge is, I believe, choking. So it's like mort gauge, like, death by choking. So anyways, the math is clear though. And this is just interesting when you break it down. I'm going to share a couple posts and give my thoughts. But he says a 50-year mortgage is massively superior to renting. Nobody's arguing a 50 is better than a 30 or a 15. Nobody. We're only saying a 50-year mortgage is better than renting. A lot of people feel like they'll be renting their entire lives. If you like a 30-year, keep your 30-year. And then this. $500,000 down, home, 20% down, 6% mortgage. 30 years, $2,400 a month. 50 years, it's down to $22,000 a month. And if you took that $325 difference at 10%, which is the average of the S&P, after 10 years, $27,000. After 50 years, it could make you $5.7 million. So with a 50-year mortgage, you pay $380,000 more interest, but could have $1 million wealthier. Now, not everybody would invest that. That's not the point. I'll get to the point in a minute. But this is excellent right here. Only 2% of 30-year mortgages ever reach maturity. What percentage of 50-year mortgages would reach maturity? Almost zero. Because almost everybody would refinance probably multiple times or sell the house at some point. It's an asset going to appreciate that gives you a hedge against rising rent prices. It's not debt slavery when I can refinance or sell tomorrow. 100%. So this, listen, the whole idea of like Dave Ramsey, I was raised on Dave Ramsey principles. Okay. Dave Ramsey is like no debt ever. All debt's bad, which it's not that he's wrong. It's just that it's short-sighted. And the truth is every rich person, wealthy person, I should say, uses debt. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons how or why, but then there's like the Richard Kiyosaki model. It's like the difference between bad debt and good debt. Right now we have an existential crisis in America. The average person who's buying a home right now is 40 years old. Young people are not able to buy homes. They're completely priced out. It is so expensive. You have to make $114,000 on average right now to afford the average mortgage, which is $395,000 as of a couple weeks ago at almost 7% interest. So your average salary needs to be $114,000 a year to afford that. It's insane. Young people are not getting in. Home ownership is very important for building wealth. In fact, the two greatest factors for determining whether or not you'll be successful with money is A, are you married? That's number one. B, do you own a home? Those are the two largest contributing factors as to whether or not you will be successful in life with money. And this is just well documented. So we need to get people owning homes. Owning homes, A, yes, it's debt, but you bought an asset with that debt. Owning an asset is the number one good reason to have debt. Okay. A car is not an asset. It's a depreciating liability. You do not want to go into great debt for a car, but a home is different. You get a home, you get property. That's an asset. And especially nowadays. And I think land ownership is going to become more and more popular, important going forward. The only reason there hasn't been a 50-year mortgage at this point, guys, it's not because the banks wanted to be nice to people and be like, no, it's just irresponsible, guys. We don't want to give you irresponsible things. We're going to take care of you. It's only 30 years. BS. It's just because they didn't have the appetite for the risk. Well, now they do, because of our financial system has just gotten larger and larger and wilder. So they have the appetite for the risk yet. Now, I'll tell you right now, knowing what I know, I would take a 50-year mortgage in a heartbeat, and I would pay it off maybe an extra $100 a month, just throw at it to knock it down. That'd probably knock 12, 15 years off right there. And on top of that, I could refinance. I could sell it if it goes up. I have an asset. This will open the door to millions of more people getting in. And so we got to figure out how this could be regulated, of course, if this even becomes a thing, but I think it's going to be, because they need to stimulate the housing market. But guys, a 25-year-old who wants to own a home, if they're making 60 grand a year and they're responsible, they'll have to go through underwriting. They should be able to buy one. Let them get in. Give them a 50-year mortgage. They have their whole life to figure out what else to do with that asset. We have it in our heads that if you commit to a mortgage, you're going to be stuck your whole life. Well, no, you're not, because even at the 30, you're only 2% ever reach maturity. Nobody pays the full 30 years. But you can trade it. You can sell it. You can refinance. But the other thing that nobody talks about, and it's just very, very important about home ownership. Home ownership means you plant yourself in a community, a neighborhood, an area. You become a part of something. If you live in an apartment, you never really feel like you're there forever, because every year you're re-upping your lease. It's always temporary. We have an entire generation, 2 generations actually, because very few millennials own homes. We have multiple generations now living in temporary life. And because of that, they're not building anything. Why do you think so few people care about our country as much as they used to? There's no investment into it emotionally, spiritually, or physically, because this country is at the point where it's priced them all out of owning anything. So they just feel like they're renting all the time. That's a completely different mindset. So if we can do this and it brings in millions and millions of more homeowners, I think that's a good thing. I really do. And the Dave Ramsey side of me that I grew up with used to hate this idea, but now I think there should be stuff on this, like they ban places like BlackRock from being able to use this, because obviously this should be like individuals only can take advantage of this. But, BlackRock, all these more hedge funds, all these, major funds that buy up all these homes, Redfin, they have different rules. They get to use different rules to buying it. So I think like this is just another tool in the belt of a consumer, of a person who wants to buy a home, just like they get all these different tools. So I want you guys to think bigger than just when you see 50 years and you have a heart attack because of the debt, because it makes sense. It really does. To get more people in. Overall, it will be a better thing it'll be a better thing for our country if we can get more people into home ownership. And again, it doesn't mean the other ones go away. But when I first saw Trump announce this, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be something I don't know if I can stick with. I can be with Trump on this one. But then I started reading all this other stuff, and I was like, oh man, this actually might make sense. Let me share another post. Ajax shared this, and it was really, really good. Let me see here if I can find it, just to give you guys a little more insight into, here it is. Please read. You can't get this insight anywhere else. I think I've changed my mind on the 50-year. He was against it when it first came out. But this guy just talks about how crazy Wall Street was when he was there, buying his first home. Where's the conclusion here? The middle class, as we know, is a totally modern invention, was uniquely American, product of wide distribution of home ownership, liquidity of real estate. People then got 15-year loans and 30-year loans because banks able to manage the risk by carving loans for resale into secondary, tertiary markets. The people who got the loans did so because they wanted a place they could call home, a place they expected their kids would grow up, and it was time for parents to move into, become babysitters, such for the family win-win. Millions of people followed the schema, and enormous communities were created miles away from the center of town. Transportation became a big thing, blah, blah, blah. Housing's integrated supply chain, far beyond lumber. It's sim world, but real. 50-year mortgage didn't exist prior because there was no market for debt instruments. There's no way for banks to offset risk. For the last decades, if people had low credit scoring, either they couldn't get a mortgage or they had to go to hard money lenders who charge well above prime bank rates. Those people getting loans service them exorbitant rate. Now there's banking appetite for 50-year loans, government creative incentivized ecosystem for holding, offloading chunks of it. Now the doors are open for home ownership. And then he compares it to like Bitcoin. Anyways, not bemoaning people by it. But the whole point is like, there's a lot more that goes into this than just, oh, it's more debt. And that's the thing, the Dave Ramsey types never talked about, which drove me crazy about Dave Ramsey once I learned more about wealth generation growth, is that it's not just about avoiding debt. It's about leveraging debt. But mobile homes are totally a trap. Absolutely. Brett says, back in 2008, they were starting to write 40-year mortgages, so at 50 now is only a matter of time. There you go. See? Yeah. Nick says, home ownership is about equity, leverage. It is, but it's also, you're right on the financial sense, but it's also about personal investment. It just is. There's something different when you feel different when you own a home versus when you're renting. You just do. You feel different about where you live, about the people you live around, about the community. And it does start making you thinking about wealth generation more too, because say you've owned the house 10 years and it's gone up 20% value or even 10% value. You start thinking like, could we upgrade? Do I like it here still? Do I want to move? But then you have that asset to use. It's just much different. Much different. Alan says a little worried about 50-year loan, insurance, taxes, and upkeep. Well, you're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right about that, Alan. Those are definitely things that most people don't account for financially. However, if you start and you pay that extra money to do that, say if you rented, it would be $2,500 a month for the house you need. And say if you owned, it'd be $2,200 mortgage, but then with insurance and everything, it's $2,700. So it's $200 more a month. So it's not cheaper than renting, except for you're building equity, you have an asset, and you have that feeling of ownership, which just changes the way you act. And you just can't get around the facts. The facts are, if you own a home, you're more likely to be wealthy later in life than if you don't. That's just a fact. And so you're absolutely right. People don't take into account. It might not be cheaper, but it's still better. It's still better. Unless you're somebody who just knows you're going to be jumping around a lot for a while. Then you don't want to buy at first. Then it probably is a better idea to rent. But if you're willing to settle and you got a job you want to stay with or something for a long time. So Jim says many could die before they pay a 50-year loan. Oh, well, that's the bank's problem. Not our problem, is it? Let the bank worry about that. Yeah, but Toe says worry about the interest on photo. You're absolutely right, guys. Nobody's saying that the interest wouldn't be there. But if you know what you're doing, and nowadays, like I'm teaching my kids this stuff. If you know what you're doing, you take that savings and you pay the more interest. So over 50 years on this mortgage, you pay $380,000 more. But you also, if you invested that money, you can make $6 million. So it's just what you do with that money that matters. And even at basic inflation, I mean, that cuts the interest rate in half right there. So, Oh man, yeah. Don't get me started on property taxes, Toe. Nick says, I think 50-year mortgages will help people afford a home. They can still pay off more off principal, but leverage with equity is a great deal. I agree. I totally agree. I think it's necessary. I do. I think it's something that, again, if you can get people into homes, let's do it. Without some without balloon payments, without things that are going to screw them. But listen, if you're willing to take a 50-year loan for an asset, you should be willing to take that if somebody's going to give you the opportunity. I don't see any reason for it. Not. Yeah, we need a stock squeeze. That's right, Toe. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make, though, guys, is look at all the things Trump's promoting that are outside the box, along with what he's already done. And when you put all this together, all these things, even whether short-term or long-term, I tend to argue, I think these will do both. But you can say short-term or long-term. We could argue that all day. I don't care. One way or the other, though, this will stimulate things short-term. Okay? And I do think they'll help long-term. But also look at all the other stuff he's done. Put that all together. If all this starts happening now, we're not even dealing with year one of Trump. Think about what changes next year when all this stuff really is in effect. The tax cuts, the tariffs, the deregulation, all this, and now an opportunity for people to buy homes, opportunity for better healthcare, prices go down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think we could have a massive economic boom starting by next summer. I really do. I think end of spring going into summer, the economy is just going to go. We're going to be ripping. And if Congress gets through, the mortgage doesn't have to be a Congress thing. That's just the banks have to, it's a regulation. But if we get the healthcare thing passed, if they start taking care of some of this other stuff, they get that stimulus from the tariffs and the Supreme Court upholds the tariffs. Oh man, by next summer, guys, I think this economy is going to be roaring and people are going to be talking a whole different game about Trump right now. Ever Trumper says, when a self-made billionaire in real estate likes a 50-year mortgage, there you go. That's a great point. You feel like a blue sky troll? All right, a couple last things. Oh man, I've gone almost 2 hours. Oh well, lots to talk about tonight. Glad I went tonight, man. If I went tomorrow, that'd be a whole nother day of news. I'd be on 3 hours. A couple quick hits real quick. Very interesting things. Have you guys been seeing this pipe bomber story? This is wild. It's a wild story. Let's go through this just real quick. But, J6, we all know, is a psyop. It was all a conspiracy to make Trump look bad, to try to make it so he could never be president again, to try to destroy MAGA. And it's the one thing that's still the thorn in MAGA's side that still hurts us with a lot of people in the middle because they just can't get over it and they just don't know the truth. Well, this is one of those stories that could spread and could completely vindicate and changing the entire narrative of J6. This is crazy. And thanks to Glenn Beck for his research on this. J6 pipe bomber, ex-Capitol police officer was identified as the pipe bomber. Insane. Former U.S. Capitol Police Officer Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff with a 94 to 98% forensic match. Is a 94-98% gait analysis match to the hooded suspect who planted pipe bombs at RNC and DNC headquarters on Jan 5th. Methods used, computer gate. Anyways, congressional sources, law enforcement was effing on it. Ex-FBI agent Kyle Seraphin Burrow was one store away from suspect days after bombing, but pulled off investigation. And she went and worked for the CIA after this, guys. You cannot make this up. This is crazy. So they found that the pipe bomber was a Capitol police officer who basically set up MAGA with this craziness and from there went to work for the CIA as her payoff. This is crazy. This is crazy. Terrible. So I hope this gets out there. I hope it spreads because this will just change the whole J6 thing forever. As this is insane. This is just so much proof it was a setup. They're going to try to spin this, but again, it's like with the Candace Owens thing, which we just proved she didn't read the indictment. At some point, you get so much evidence you can't overlook it anymore, and this is just crazy. Okay, a couple other quick hits. It came out this week. This is pretty crazy. Jeffrey Epstein. This is Jeffrey Epstein's roommate in the prison started spilling some beans this week, and he said that after Epstein's arrest on child sex trafficking charges in July 2019, Epstein was transferred to the correctional center. He shared a cell with ex-cop Nicholas Tartaglione. He claimed that Epstein, who died a month after being arrested, told him prosecutors offered to cut a deal if he snitched on President Trump. Oh, man. Down the rabbit hole we go, folks. This is crazy. If this is true, now this guy could just be wanting attention. He just could be wanting to try to get out of a sentence. I don't know. Some people, I'm not putting it past a prisoner to make stuff up. Okay, I'm not. So we got to take this with a grain of salt until more evidence comes out. But do you not believe it? I believe it. This totally makes sense. Prosecutors told Epstein that if he said President Trump was involved with Epstein's crimes, he would walk free in a petition to be pardoned. Tartaglione claims in a pardon application filed in July. Epstein told me Maureen Comey said that he didn't have to prove anything. He didn't have to prove anything as long as President Trump's people could not disprove it. According to Maureen Comey, the FBI were her people, not his. Guys, holy crap. Oh, man. If this turns out to be true, this is crazy. This is crazy. I don't have much, there's nothing more on it yet, so I'll definitely be following the story. But man, can you imagine if they prove that they were trying to use Epstein to set up Trump, directly talking to Epstein this whole time? Oh man, just insane. I wonder if Biden pardoned her, says Jim. Oh, on that chick? Yeah, who knows? Maybe. We're still talking about mortgages. This is one hell of a movie, says Toe. Yeah, it is. Can you believe this? So crazy. So now we got the pipe bomber, was a Capitol police officer who got hired by the CIA after. That's crazy, rigged. Now we got Epstein, Comey. By the way, this chick was the one prosecuting P. Diddy. You want to wonder why he only got 4 years or 3 years? Yeah, she was the one running the P. Diddy case. And they infamously, the prosecution infamously botched it up. Everybody talked about it. If they hadn't screwed things up, he would have put away for 20 plus years. No, they screwed it up on purpose because Diddy's one of their operatives. So you got, but Comey, man, his daughter is just awful. And somehow she got the Epstein case and the Diddy case. You think that's a little weird? Yeah. Weird stuff, huh? They're using all of it to get Trump. That's what it is. It's just insane. And then finally, last thing tonight, federal grand jury subpoenaed John Brennan, Strzok, and Page. So all the people behind Russia, three of the biggest players have all been subpoenaed. So guys, it's ramping up. You know, again, last week, because of the election, because of the PSYOP going on in MAGA, it was like a down week in MAGA. A lot of people are dooming. A lot of people are blackpilling. A lot of people are going after Trump hard, saying he's going to be a failure. The Republicans are starting to smell blood in the water, the DeSantis types. Guys, so much has happened and so much more is coming. We've barely gotten this ride started. We're in the part of the roller coaster right now where we're still ticking to the top. We haven't even crested and hit the fun stuff yet. It's about to start. This is ramping up big time. So much exposure is happening. I read a story the other day that said the FBI is frustrated right now, Kash Patel's FBI, because they have so much evidence on Obamagate, Spygate, all this stuff, Crossfire, Hurricane, Epstein, you name it. They have so much evidence. They have so much ready to go. But the DOJ right now is understaffed and isn't able to handle all the caseloads yet. And so the DOJ, they're trying to hire like furiously right now to bring more people in order to handle all the trials that are about to happen. All the, justice moves slow. One of the reasons is people. Sometimes we just forget that it's not that they don't want to do stuff. It's that they just haven't got it all put together yet. And, that's just a reality. It's a sucky reality. But I'm telling you, Trump, year 1 was like, get in the scene, smash and grab. We got to fix all this crap that's been going on. We got to set things back on the right trajectory. We got to build what I'm building. We got to get all the pieces in place. A little chaotic. Get peace back in the world. Get all these trade deals. Settle things down was year 1. Year 2, it's going to be efficiency and precision. And I think it's going to be an economic boom on top. Excuse me. Alan says, I can't believe the NYC is corrupt. Yeah, you think? I agree with you on that one. Jim says, if the Supreme Court ruled against Trump with the tariffs, the market will crash. I actually disagree with you, Jim. The market hates the tariffs. What will happen if they deny the tariffs? We'll have a week or so where the stock market will go crazy. It'll just whoosh, everything's going to be green. It'll set records. You better believe it. But what's going to happen then is there's going to be major issues with the government having to pay it all back. If Trump gets these dividends out to people now, I forgot to mention that. That's the other brilliant part of him mentioning the tariff dividend to people, because now the American people are going to want to keep those tariffs. The Supreme Court is now going to have to tell people if they take it away, they're going to have to they're basically saying to the people, sorry, you're not getting your money. That's going to piss people off. So it was a brilliant political move by Trump to announce this tariff dividend, but it'll send the market shooting up at first, but then it'll create a budget. It'll create a budget crisis, and with a crisis like that could eventually impact the markets. But the markets in general hate them because the markets, they want to keep their cheap labor and cheap goods. They like outsourcing our jobs. They like destroying the middle class because it makes them richer. So they'll like it. Yeah, some of the tariff money to fully staff DOJ. I honestly, Rumdog, I don't think that money is the problem at the DOJ. I think it's finding lawyers who can, and law enforcement who can actually be trusted. I actually think that's the trouble. I don't think it's money. I think it's finding people who will work in the justice system who aren't corrupt or aren't leftists. I really do. I think that's the hardest part. So anyways, all right. Well, guys, I got to go. This is a long show, man. 2 hours, it says on my stream. Although some of that was me streaming early on one you couldn't watch. So there's that. That's fun. Anyways, love you guys. Hey, please please subscribe, support the channel by sharing, by liking, helping the algorithm, all that. If you got the hype option, if you're on a phone, hit that. I'd appreciate it. And please join the channel. It's free for your first month. And, get in the Discord, get the members lives, all good stuff. So, but love you guys, and let's pray. We need a lot of prayer, but I really believe the best is yet to come still. I think really good things are coming. We just got to get through this muck, this infighting. So, Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless our president. God bless all the people actually standing with him. God bless all the people fighting the good fight, not the ones trying to tear us apart. God, I pray that they will all be exposed in their lies and deceit. And God, we pray for justice back in our country. We pray for prosperity back in our country. I pray that you'd, God, just lead the Trump administration, God, with boldness and protect them, Lord, as they go, and wisdom. Give them wisdom, Lord. And just thank you that we're here. Thank you that we have hope for our future, that things are turning around. And I do pray, God, that the economy really, Lord, everything Trump and them and Bessent and all the other and the team, Lord, have put together, I pray that it yields major dividends starting soon. And the people, God, in this country can start doing better even by early next year. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Love you guys. Bless you. Have a great night. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.